I hope everybody's doing well. I hope everybody had a great new year and Christmas and all the good stuff. We all know how crazy 2024 was and how many great and also terrible horror movies that we got last year. And I have compiled a list of my top five most favorite horror films of 2024 and the top five worst horror films of 2024. I'm actually going to go through the worst ones first because you always want to save the best for last. So, without further ado, coming in at number five of the worst horror movies that I've seen this year would be In a Violent Nature. Now, this one might be a little bit controversial. A lot of people loved this movie, but I feel like an equal amount of people, including myself, really did not like this movie. Like, it's so boring. It's so dragged out, so long. Most of the film is him walking through the woods. First, I will give credit where credit is due. It is an original idea. It's the point of view of the killer, pretty much the entire movie up until the last scene, pretty much. But the way that it was executed was very annoying. And the amount of runtime of him just walking in the woods, just so ridiculous. They could have cut a lot of it down. It was just so boring that I could not finish it even on the first watch. I had to go back a second time to watch it all the way through because it was so boring that I literally could not bring myself to finish it the first time. I will say, though, that yoga kill, that was top tier. That was great. Loved it. That was probably the best thing about the film. That right there was definitely an iconic kill, and I can't take that away from them. I mean, and I also can't take away the fact that it was an original idea, and I hope to see more killer point of views in the future. Ooh, I have a more controversial film that is way more loved than In a Violent Nature. And I may get shit for this, but coming in at number four, we have Long Legs. I had so much hype for this movie. I just didn't like it. I don't know. I mean, the cinematography was beautiful and, Nicolas Cage was fantastic. I mean, he was creepy and hilarious at the same time. I mean, he was just off the rails. So he nailed the character for sure, but the plot and like the reveal was just, I felt so unsatisfied. Like, I don't know. And I think they could have definitely taken the backstory farther. Like, I wanted to know why, I wanted to know more about the characters, right? I wanted to know more about the villain, why he is the way he is, uh, how he got to that point. I don't know. For me, it was just a little too random. Like, why are you like, right? Like, why are you doing, like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. I mean, usually, yeah, it's a fucking killer. Like, obviously, you don't really need the why, but the cinematography was great. Like, for real. Nicolas Cage was great. I mean, I don't have any complaints about any of that. I just, the plot was the letdown for me. The reveal was the letdown for me. Like, if you're gonna go into like culty stuff, I feel like you could have done more and like kind of take, I don't know, like a ball inside of a doll's head like causes them to like go crazy and kill each other. I don't know. That doesn't do it for me. I had really high hopes for it. And when I was disappointed, that just kind of crushed me a little bit because I was really excited to watch it. Coming in at number three, we've got Night Swim, another Blumhouse garbage film, which is nothing new to them because I feel like most of their films now are garbage. Apparently, Night Swim originated from a short film. I wish they would have just kept it a short film because The plot, in my opinion, did not merit a whole movie. And I don't know, 20 minutes would have been better. You know what I mean? I think it was just not like movie length worthy, and it wasn't interesting enough to me to like even warrant that. I don't know. It just felt too PG-13. It just felt like it needed to stay a short film. And I feel like Blumhouse really needs to slow it down and focus more on quality. But they need to slow it down, okay? And they need to focus on actually making these movies good and making them scary. Okay, well, this one is not going to be surprising at all because I don't know anyone who personally enjoyed this film. But coming in at number 2, Salem's Lot. First, I do want to say cinematography, gorgeous. Gorgeous, especially the scene where all the vampires are like coming out from the trunks of the vehicles like at the drive-in. Gorgeous, gorgeously shot. That's probably all it has going for it, the cinematography, because the character development is not good and feels very rushed. And the pacing of the film was not good either. Even the main villain was just kind of lame. I love me a good vampire story, okay? But since we don't get them that often anymore, especially since the groundbreaking Twilight, I feel like a lot of the vampire movies that have come out in recent years have been really lame, and this one is no exception. And this is one of those examples where the original Salem's Lot is definitely better despite being decades older. So do better. It's on Max if you want to watch it, but be forewarned, you're going to be let down, especially if you like the original. And coming in at number 1 at the worst horror movie of last year, The Strangers Chapter 1. I'm not going to lie. I hated this movie. Obviously, it's on my worst list. It just felt so unnecessary because it's pretty much a carbon copy of the original, but worse. And the main characters are even more lame than they were in the original. And they're just really pathetic. Like it's embarrassing. It's embarrassingly pathetic. I don't know if they did that on purpose to like really make you hate the main characters and root for the strangers, but that's kind of what happened. Yes, I'm going to watch the sequel. But am I going to expect it to be good? Absolutely not, because I'm sure it'll be bad. But I hope it's at least better than chapter 1 because that was horrible. And that was my top 5 worst list of 2024. Okay, and here is my favorite part of the video, saving the best for last, as I always say. So first of all, I'm going to start off with my honorable mention, Late Night with the Devil. It's one of those like found footage mockumentary style videos. So if you're not into that, honestly, I would say still check it out because it's a really good example of what found footage should be, because there's a lot of crap in found footage, as you know. But this one is probably like one of, if not the best example of a good found footage film, especially in recent years. Okay. I really felt like I was watching a late night 1970s TV show. I mean, they nailed the set and costuming perfectly. I loved the possessed girl character. I mean, she was my favorite. And I can see how, in certain scenes that, she can creep people out. And there were some trippy parts of the movie, especially the ending. Like, I'm not going to give it away, but I really enjoyed it. So that's why I wanted to mention it, because I just think they did a fantastic job with this movie. And it's just a great example of the found footage genre. And I think it's going to be one of those paramount examples, for the future where filmmakers are going to look back on this film and draw inspiration from it and use it as an example for what they want to go for. So, yeah, it's still on Shudder, so you can go stream it. I highly recommend. Even if you don't like found footage, I think you can still enjoy this movie, especially if you kind of like the vintage feel of movies, or if you like watching old movies from like the 70s and 80s. Okay, now here's the start of the list. Coming in at number 5, and this is going to be a surprise whatsoever. Like, I have no idea how many times I'm going to be talking about this movie on my channel, but Terrifier 3. That should not come as a surprise at all. And there was no way, there was absolutely no way that I was going to leave that off my list. It was a great film. It deserves to be there. They did so well. Yeah, they deserved every bit of that. I am so proud of them for what they've accomplished. And I cannot wait to see what Terrifier 4 brings. Check out Terrifier 3. Check out all the Terrifiers. Next up, we have The Substance coming in at number 4. The Substance was fantastic. Demi Moore's performance was great. So good. That was like a performance of a lifetime for her, and she did great. And Margaret Qualley. Margaret Qualley also did great as Sue. But it was truly a body horror film in every way, and the message of the film about, how we treat or how society treats women as they age, especially in Hollywood. It was a good message, and it came across very well. Just the little details of how the characters were set up and how the men in the film were. That director, she definitely does not like Hollywood, and that is very apparent. But yeah, the film the film was really good. It got really crazy in the third act, like crazy, but it was a good watch. So I highly recommend to see The Substance. A lot of people in the theater, at least, were like, what is this? What did I just watch? I wish I didn't watch that. So there will be people that talk ill of the film, but it was definitely for me, and I highly recommend any horror fan to watch this movie, especially if you are into body horror. Just give it a watch. What's the worst that can happen? You don't like it? All right. Coming in at number 3. Love this movie so much. Still listening to the soundtrack to this day, by the way. Smile 2. Naomi Scott killed this role. She was amazing. And this is one of those rare times that I think the sequel is better than the original. At least for me, it was. I love the original. If you want to hear me talk more in depth about the film, where I actually review it and go over everything that I loved and disliked about it, go check out my Smile 2 review up on my channel. I will just kind of hit the key points that, yes, there are jump scares, and I think they mainly rely on the jump scares and the general ambiance, but mainly the jump scares. So basically, when I first went to watch this movie, I nearly jumped out of my seat on a couple of the jump scares. And they were very creative jump scares, and I really liked it. And then there was a couple of, like, the filming style of a couple of scenes, really great, really effective, and my eye is on that director now. Like, I cannot wait. If they have a Smile 3, I think that one's going to be good too. I don't see why it wouldn't be. No, definitely check out Smile 2. I think it's on Paramount Plus now. But this is one of those movies where I would buy the DVD to have it in my physical collection. All right. Coming in, it's number 2. We have The First Omen. I feel like most of the movies on my best list, I was not expecting to be as good as they were. Yeah, this one, I really wasn't expecting to like it. Like, I thought, oh, this is another religious horror. And it's a prequel to The Omen, which is a classic. horror movie from way back in the day. Like, I think it came out in the 70s. So I was like, okay, this is probably going to be bad. Like, especially as a prequel, because I feel like for the most part prequels are just not good. So, to my pleasant surprise, it was really good. Nell Tiger Free, which is the main actress, was awesome in this film. She was the perfect girl for it. Like the creepiness of this film, the whole ambiance of it, they did an amazing job setting everything up. I like the direction they went in at the end of the film. Wasn't expecting that. And it's also going to create like room for a sequel, even though technically the sequel is supposed to be The Omen. So it's kind of interesting where they're going to take that, because it's different from The Omen. There was one scene in particular where it was it was so weird, and I just wasn't expecting that. And if you've seen the movie, I'm pretty sure you're going to know what I'm talking about. I thought they were very ballsy for that particular scene. That it was very out there, very creative, weird. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say because I don't want to spoil it. But definitely check out the first Omen. So last year there were two similar films that had come out. It's the first Omen, and then the other one was Immaculate, which I think Immaculate actually came out right before the first Omen did. But I mean, the first Omen did it better. Like, I'm sorry. Immaculate was okay. Like, and I like Sydney Sweeney, so I mean, I think she did well. But the first Omen did it way better, in my opinion. And I think that's a good example of religious horror because there's a lot of overdone, overplayed, horrible, like just straight up trash religious films out there because it's one of the most popular genres within horror for some reason. So it's overplayed and there's a lot of garbage. This one is definitely a really good example of a religious horror film. And I recommend to check it out. Okay. I don't think you'll be disappointed. This one definitely, I'm definitely surprised I'm putting this as number one. But yeah, coming in at number one, Nosferatu. I was totally expecting to put like Smile 2 or The Substance or something as my number one. Well, I ended up putting Nosferatu as my number one. I had a lot of hype for this film, and it not only lived up to my hype, but it also surpassed it. And there were a couple of elements of the film that surpassed it for me to the number one spot. This could also be recency bias because this was the most recent one I watched, but I don't care. It's my number one, and I was anticipating it. Nosferatu, directed by Robert Eggers. And by the way, like, I'm not one that will watch a lot of historic horror films. Most of the time, they're not really my jam. Again, another director that I'm going to keep my eye on for the future. This movie was just like your classic gothic historical horror. I loved it. I love anything that's gothic. Can I just say, Lily Rose Depp killed this character. Her range as an actress, I haven't really seen too much of her work. I did watch her show that was on Max with The Weeknd. I don't even remember the name of it, but I was not expecting her acting to be this good after watching that. As I will say, the apple does not fall too far from the tree since her father is Johnny Depp and I love him. This film makes me really excited to see Lily's future work because she nailed it. I mean, she was great when she rolled her eyes all the way back. Like, that was all her, bro. A lot of people were complaining that this movie was just too long, but I feel like the norm right now is really at least 2 hours. Even 2.5 to 3 hours is like pretty normal at this point. So I had no issues whatsoever with the runtime. I was not bored. I loved how they were setting the scenes and taking me along the journeys and not rushing into anything. Like, I think the pacing of the film was good, and I don't have any complaints about it, really. The cinematography was gorgeous. The color grading, I think, was my favorite part of the film. And that really solidified like the gothic appearance. The color grading was just so muted and beautiful at the same time, just very fitting. Like, I almost thought, like, from the trailer, it kind of makes you think that it's going to be in black and white, but it's actually not. Like, it's not black and white. That scene was just so muted and like beautiful that it felt vintage in the best way possible. They really did a fantastic job with the color grading, the costuming as well, the cinematography. I mean, I can't say enough good things about it. Even Bill Skarsgård as Count Orlok, like, I didn't recognize him at all. Like, I didn't even realize that was him. A lot of people said they did not like the look of Count Orlok with the mustache and the hair. A little more spot on to how Dracula looks in the book. And for that time period, he's trying to be a little more historically accurate, guys. Okay, it's not something random. It was definitely planned. Yes, Nosferatu was technically a ripoff of Dracula. The original film that came out in 1922 actually got banned in Germany, and they tried their hardest to stop it from releasing, but it already got to America, so it was too late. But it was an unauthorized ripoff of Dracula. And I love the fact that he decided to remake a ripoff of Dracula instead of making Dracula itself. The only reason I know about Nosferatu was because of SpongeBob, okay? And I think most people in my age group will say the same thing. First of all, I love Willem Dafoe. I can't think of a single film that he's in that I did not like. I love him as an actor. I love his range. You can tell how passionate he is about acting and how seriously he takes his roles. He was great. I just wanted to mention that too because I talked about Lily Rose Depp and Bill Skarsgård. Willem Dafoe, mwah, chef's kiss. I can't wait to see more gothic historical films now because of this film. Definitely check out Nosferatu. It's still in theaters. I don't know how long it's going to be there, so go see it while you can. I saw it in the Dolby Cinema at AMC, and I loved it. So yeah. But that was my top 5 best and worst films of 2024. Let me know what you guys' list would be down in the comments, or if anything on my list from either best or worst, if you would place it on your, like, if you're the opposite from me and you hated it. I want to know people's opinions about these films and if they didn't like it or if they loved it and I hated it. I want to hear all that. I really enjoy the discourse and hearing people's opinions on things, because these films to me are just so enjoyable. The good ones, the best ones. I may even go back and rewatch Longlegs and In Violent Nature, and maybe I'll love them on like the third or fourth watch. Who knows, bro? Because I already watched both of those twice and I don't like them, but maybe I will change my mind on the third or fourth watch because it does happen. It can happen over time. But yeah, thank you guys so much for checking out my top 5 best and worst of the year's video. And please help a girl out and subscribe to my channel. Really appreciate you guys. And I hope y'all have a great rest of your week, and I'll catch you next time. Bye, guys.